Let me do this intro real quick, and then we can go back because I love a story. I talk a bit when I love a story.
Welcome to Lovely Esteem. I'm Lovely, the auntie you always wanted, the sister girlfriend you didn't know you needed, honey. You gotta have self-love to have self-esteem. And here we know that God don't make no junk. So we're gonna sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it, baby. Let's do it.
Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome to Hailing Through Conversation. Today, we are going to be talking to Alexa G because I'm not going to try to say her last name. She's going to say her last name, and then I'm going to sit back and we're going to have a full Kiki moment. But I really want to read her bio. I am born and raised. Let me say this all over. I am a born and raised proud New Jerseyan. You have to be from New Jersey to say New Jerseyan because I never say I'm a Marylander. I refuse to. And dog mom, you have to tell me about your baby. You have to talk about your baby. That's important to me. Is this a Millennial? Is that what we're calling it?
Xennial, I think. I don't know because nobody ever talks about us.
We're going to talk about us today. I'm not an Xennial. I'm a Gen Xer, and I probably have anger issues. Still Gen X, but enough characteristics to count as Millennial. First generation American of Dominican and Cuban descent. You got some good food. Oh my God. Oh my God. My career has been in finances and accounting. Having been diagnosed as an adult with ADHD, want to talk about that. I realized that I have a multitude of passions and interests, including spirituality, adopting self-help, and to assist in breaking my generational trauma, my friend, and being the auntie who filter can be questionable at times, always for me, but good intentioned. I have a lot of love to give, looking to have conversations where both sides are heard, and I can't help but love food to no end. Me and you together, biscuits, I can make them in like 20 minutes, change your life. Cooking, planning, and feeding as proper, say it,
Cancerian, July 11th.
I'm an Aquarius, that's why we get along. Oh God, let's hope that this doesn't burn the fuck down. Anyway.
Don't worry, I got an Aquarius moon, so I get you.
Oh, and I got a Cancerous. You're one of my risings or something. I'm like, oh, no wonder I'll be having the moments when I'll be on Facebook or something crying over a little marriage or something. It's so beautiful. And then I'll be like, burn that shit down. Like, it's horrible. It's so horrible.
I'm with you on that.
Please introduce yourself, darling.
All right. I am Alexa Grueiro, and I don't
say it again.
Grueiro. It's that part of Spain that, not a lot of people like to visit because it's not fancy, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I am New Jerseyan. I think anybody that you've probably heard or met from New Jersey just loves this state without question. And I can't see myself living somewhere else, but gladly visit anywhere because I love traveling. I love learning. I have a passion for learning not just about things, but learning about people and connecting myself with others and just holding space to give somebody the opportunity to feel seen and heard and, and to a degree, get that little love that cancers know how to give so well. And I've been doing that, without a profession attached to it, just the things I like to do. And somehow it turns into like, wow, you really did something important at that point. And I'm like, because of the ADHD, I was like, what? When did I help you? I'm like, what are you talking about?
You're like, what was I there? Are you sure?
I was like, that was really insightful. That was me.
Do you have a video of that? Because I'm not 100% sure. Then you were like, no, that was me. That was me.
I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, wow. That was a long time ago. You're still thinking about that? That's cool. So, but, as a person that also grew up with, that Catholic mindset, I was really into the right reasons of religion when I was growing up. So I was learning about, loving your neighbor as you do yourself and all that good stuff. And one of the things that always I keep in the back of my mind is like, don't let the left hand know what the right hand did. So if you do something good for somebody, forget it as soon as you did it, because that's not the point of doing it.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I think that when you're walking as your truest self, and I think sometimes when you have ADHD, you are so true to yourself that you're like, I can't talk about yesterday because I don't have time. I'm trying to focus right now. Right now, I'm focused. Right now.
I was like, this has been my plan, and we if we don't stick to it, the world will burn.
Like, but honestly, I'm like, if I'm gonna help somebody, one of the hardest things I had to get myself together with is being in front of the camera, because when I first joined TikTok, I was number 104495959. Just because I love being in the background. I think that I found more joy in watching people be successful with my help. I'm like, go on out there and do it. They're like, no, come with me. But that is absolutely one of the best ways to feel genuine about yourself. When you just do it because you love it and because you love them, it's so different than when you have to brag about it. Because when you brag about it, it's like, did you really do it for them? Like, was it for those people?
Exactly.
So I'm like, But we were great having a conversation. You were talking about your niece and nephew and you changing their minds and blowing.
Yeah, no, we were discussing briefly how children's natural reaction to things when it kind of just something clicks or just blows their mind. And to me, it brings me a little bit of laugh, like a little bit of the giggles, because I'm like, man, I remember being that, that innocent, right? That level of innocence is just, you can't duplicate it. No. And it's hard to get it back as an adult, right? So it's just like the simple act of saying to my cousin's grandchildren, I was like, hey, and they're like, hi. I was like, you don't know me, but I'm your grandma's cousin. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, bud. And he's just like, how? I was like, we come from a very big family, guy. And your great grandpa, he's the first. My dad is the second youngest out of 13 kids.
Good Lord, 13?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a family. You're just a different size family. That's different. We had 8. We had 8, but only half of them had kids.
Okay.
So we had to limit that because that gene shouldn't have been running out in the world like that.
No, trust me. And the thing is, it's my mom and my dad both have the same amount of siblings, so it's a lot of relatives to remember.
Wow. All over the coast?
On my dad's side, it's just that small cluster of relatives that lives on the West Coast, and then everybody else is on the East Coast, and they're either New York, Florida, maybe a little scattered in the middle, a little sprinkle. Some people back in Cuba, some people still in DR, and it's always interesting to see the dynamic of it together. And you're just, for me, it's like, okay, I'm a little overwhelmed. That's a lot of people right now. I was like, I need a warning. I'm like, who's coming to this event?
I think that's all. I think that's a Gen X-ish millennial question in general. Like, so who's coming? Because that really will determine how long I'm going to be there. If I find something to do after I show up for 10 minutes. Oh my God, I forgot. I have a meeting. Goodbye.
Or are my favorite cousins going to be there? Because then we can be our little clique in the corner cracking jokes.
Yeah, no, I tell people, I'm like, if you hear my keys jingling, I've had enough. I'm on my way out. But if you see me grab a glass and I say, oh, give me another one,
we're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing okay. But I'm quick to be like, I'm at the door, in the door, out the door, in the door, out the door.
I know. I expire too. So that's what my sister calls it. She's like, oh, you're expiring. I said, I didn't realize. I was like, is that what it is? I've expired. I'm going to start using that now. can we Irish goodbye and expire at the same time? Can that be a multiple, simultaneous thing?
I think that you can be whatever you want to be, but just know that they see us. We think we're slick, but like the glazed over eye look starts to happen first because you're like fading in out of the conversation. Then you start thinking about the things that you're going to do once you get to wherever you want to be versus where they are. And that's it. You tapped out. Like, did you hear what
I said? Smile awkwardly, like, yeah, what?
Versus when you're there with your favorite cousins, they're like, when did you become the life of the party? And you're like, I've always been this, but I like them.
Exactly.
And we're going to cut up. When we leave this party, you're going to put me out because.
And I always tell people, I'm like, before you start thinking that you could post something right now, wait a day or two. Just wait 2 days before you post so that I don't hear the crying. Why didn't you invite me? I was bored. I wanted to go out too. I'm like, oh, I didn't plan it. What are you talking about?
I'm like, no, that's me. I don't make any plans when I'm happy. It sounds crazy, but because I'll keep saying yes. And I'm like, yeah. And then the day comes and I'm like, or the night before, and I'm like, I'm always blaming my husband. Why did you say yes? He was like, I didn't. You were giggling and then you started saying yes. And I was like, oh, she's going to be so mad when she figures this out.
You're like, past me did not do me a solid today.
It did not. Rude, disrespectful chick. Why did the future me should have came back and smacked the shit out of me, told me to go sit it down. Did not at all. Yeah. So tell me about your baby. Your dog mom. Tell me about the baby.
Oh, his name is Hercules. He is a pit bull. And I got him from a shelter. He's deaf. But I knew that when I was getting into that relationship. I had just lost one of my previous dogs that I was working with. She was a handful. She was a bit of a project. She came from a rescue. We don't know her past, but I was like, I can handle her because I got the love to give her to rehabilitate her, but she passed before. And I kind of knew myself well enough that I told the dog trainer, I'm like, that I'm going to probably be looking for a dog when I come back from my trip. So
get it together,
get it looking. As much as I'm going to be missing that puppy, that dog, she wasn't a puppy. She was just, for me, a little, that was my little, my little project child, but we are not going to be dogless in this situation. So let's go. So she goes, I think I found the perfect dog for you. I was like, okay, it's a boy. I was like, or no, she thought it was a girl. So when I looked at the picture, I was like, that's a girl dog? That looks like a boy, I'm like,
did we look at the parts? Because the parts did tell us something. What are you doing? I
was like, that's a boy face. I was like
big square, nice big square, meaty head.
Yeah, he's a big head boy. But then she's like, he's a little handicapped. He might not have his vision pretty good. And I was like, okay, but he's definitely deaf. And I was like, oh, sign me up. Deaf? Yes. I live in an apartment and walking by everything, this dog.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think of that. You're right. You're just, you set yourself up with something really good.
I was like, oh, what? He can't hear? Yes. She's like, you got to meet him to see if you feel a connection. I'm like, I already know.
How old is he?
He's going to be 6 now, but when I got him, he was about 1 and he was so skinny. And I was like, oh, this poor thing. I'm like, but now people are like, is he getting fat? And I'm like, don't talk about my baby like that.
You are disrespectful. We have a German Shepherd named Ray. When he's bad, I call him Raymond, but I say Raymond. And when he's really good, I call him Guy Smiley. He don't know what his name is anymore. He's 10. And I was like, he just went to the vet and my daughter called me. She was like, so he lost weight. He's a model now. And I said, how much does he weigh? 97 pounds. I was like, look at you. Because he was so chunky. German Shepherd should not be shaped like an exclamation upside down exclamation.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
But he is He's afraid of everything. I really, the thing about when earlier we were talking about like systemic racism and what they teach you, right? So in Black communities, a German Shepherd is just like one of the worst dogs to have because civil rights and everything like that. But I'm like, have you ever really met a German Shepherd? They're scared of life. They're scared of everything. And they're hairy. So much hair.
Yes, everywhere. Oh my gosh.
So much hair. But he is the best, lovable, I got your back. Mom, come in the house. Do you see the storm? We're going to go in the bathroom and hide from the storm, Mom. Come, just look at me. Look at my eyes. You see me? I went in the bathroom. Follow me to the bathroom.
You're like, please, it's going to be okay.
Just lay down and go to sleep. He'd be like, really? You think it's going to be safe? Then he'll wake up all days like, what is that? What just happened?
No, the memes they put out there when the dog, they're like, yeah, be careful with the dog and fireworks because they're going to think like a war is going on in a war zone. I'm like, yeah, I saw that in my other dogs. But this guy, he's like, I like that. This is fantastic. This is beautiful.
He said, did you see the colors, Mom? I saw colors, Mom. My dog, meanwhile, he's under the bed, like, please, God, make it stop. I can't stand it. I'm like, and in my neighborhood, we like live in a neighborhood where a lot of people have guns.
Yeah.
We have one neighbor who has like a cannon.
Oh.
It's not a musket. It's a can. It just sounds, your house moves when he shoots it off. And my dog is like, dude, make it stop. Like, I'm not going to go over there and tell him to stop. You're going to just have to get used to this. Like, this is what we're doing here.
Oh my goodness. No. And I mean, my sister's dog, he's super antsy. And I'm like, you guys gotta do something. Cause during the 4th of July, he was at my apartment. I was like, this is not my chill space that I enjoy. Like, I want to go to the park with my dog and just enjoy what's happening. And I can't because I got this one freaking out here. And I got to comfort him. And I'm like, it's going to be just fine. It's not your fault that people don't
realize. Pull out the Minnesota. You did not pull out the Minnesota.
It's like, it's okay, baby. It's okay.
You're going to be fine. Everything is fine. Just shut up. Shut up. Shut your mouth up.
I was like, you're going to be just okay. He's like, no, it's not.
We're all gonna die, Mom. You're like,
and I'm like, I'm gonna have to give you some of my melatonin to maybe help out.
Oh my gosh, we had to give our dog we had to give him Percocet to go to the vet. You want to see something funny? His little face just got longer and longer. He just went higher and higher. Just like he wanted to bark, but you could tell it was in his thoughts. But it just never made it down. It just was like, it's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. It's gonna be fine.
We're doing okay, buddy. We're doing okay.
I'm gonna send him to your house. Like it's gonna be like he's
not. I'm like, it's okay, sweetie. It's okay.
You're gonna be sneezing. His hair is just. I remember when I first saw a picture of him. It was a rescue. He had he was living at a wonderful home, but the couple was getting divorced, and the wife said, "If you don't pick the dog up today, I'm gonna take him to get put down." So I got a call. No. Oh yeah, she was hot. She was hot. I don't know what happened. It's none of my business. But I got a call, and the lady was like, "Hey, so plans have changed. Can you come meet me to get the dog?" And I was like, I think I'm going to get a puppy German Shepherd, a small, so I can surprise my husband who knows nothing about this. Nothing.
Oh.
And I walked up to that trunk, and when they opened the door and Marmaduke fell out the back of that
You're like,
I said, he's not small. She said, no, he's grown since ma'am, it's been 2 weeks since you sent me that picture. What did you do? She was like, that was an older picture.
I was like, did he eat another dog before he got here? Like, just curious, because
I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about it. What made you decide to get tested for ADHD?
So I had lost my long-term job at a big company that I was working for. I was there for almost 10 years. And I was one of those people that was just on the grind, working, 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 and everything was busy because of work, and everything was just centralized around work. So I was like, all right, finally, I had the break that I needed to do the things I thought I needed to do, like start studying and all this, plans that you make for yourself because you just don't have enough time to do things. And then finally, I realized, I was like, I have all this time and I'm not getting a thing accomplished. And I'm just just going into this depressed, like a little bit of a depressive state. And I'm confused about it because I'm just not understanding it. And then I start coming across feeds on my social media. They're like, this is what ADHD is. And I'm like, that sounds relatable. Okay. And I'm like, that was definitely part of my upbringing. Holy, that's a problem. That's not a characteristic. That's not a character flaw. That's just like, oh, impulsive shopping. Yes.
Oh, yes, I can do that. Didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even know.
And the thing was, is just little things started adding up. And I said, okay, let me just find somebody that's diagnosed, able to diagnose an adult and
Yeah.
just to say, hey, no, you're just going through it because you lost a job. But at that point, my mom had passed away from cancer. So I couldn't go back and ask her questions about being a child.
Yeah.
But I do have a good memory from my childhood, probably from the age of maybe 3 onward. So
Okay.
there are a lot of things that I can always just say, yeah, no, I could recall this. I heard this about myself as a little girl, all this good stuff. And then the doctor was like, yeah, you have severe ADHD and yeah, it's impairing you. And I'm like, okay, at least I know it's not because I suck at life. Thank you. Because you get to a
You
place in
do?
your head where you think like, I'm a failure. I haven't done these things. Why is it so hard for me to do something as simple as go back to school and get a master's degree, or go back to school and explore a different career? Or why is it so hard for me to take care of the simple things that other people seem to not have a problem with?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was one of those things where, the imposter syndrome kicks in, and I'm, I was living a very disappointing life up until that point. Now it's disappointing for other reasons, but at least I can't only attribute it to me feeling like a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, you know what? I was not aware of this part of me up into a very late age in life. And had I had the wherewithal and the ability to advocate for myself growing up to say, hey, something's just not right and I'm having trouble, I would have probably had a different set of years coming to this point in my life. And this kind of goes back to the conversation topic of breaking generational trauma. In my cultures and all, and maybe for every minority, but I can only really speak to my own culture because that's what I know.
Yeah.
You go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, that's a big taboo. We don't do that because there's no crazies in my family. And there's depression. No, you know what your problem is? You're not doing anything during the day.
Oh my God, dude. Why? I'm so busy. You complained yesterday that you don't ever see me anymore because I'm always working. I'm always at a party. I'm always out. I'm always, volunteering. You always try to find something to do. And I will say that that's super huge in minority communities. It's like, oh, you have time to think about being sick. You're not busy enough. Okay. But I feel like that's not right. And this is something we're going to have to disagree about. And we're going to really talk about it. And I will say that the Gen X, we're just really starting to accept that there's some shit wrong. Like, because we
Yeah.
were told for so long that we were trying to get attention. We were acting out. You're just not busy. You need to pray on it. You're not praying hard enough. You're trying to show up such and such. And it's like, now that we're older, we're like, we raised children. We were around other people's kids murked out.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And giving them advice that we needed ourselves. I mean, because I think that that's sometimes what happens when we go through the trauma that we all go through in different ways. Like, I always say, trauma isn't just like the devastating big blow ups. It's those little moments, like you said, when you're like, I should be able to do this. I should be able to accomplish this thing. Why can't I accomplish this thing? And then when you start sliding down the depression scale, because I swear it's like a dragon. It just, you're like, how much further down do I go before it stops?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you 100%. Your culture, my culture, they had a conversation and they said, say the same thing to the children.
Mm-hmm. Oh, without a doubt. And it all comes down to, like, you can't show people you're vulnerable. You can't let anybody know what your weaknesses are, because they will take it against you. And, it's kind of heartbreaking, because what if all it took was a simple conversation where somebody could just say, you're not alone, and you're not going through this by yourself. We all have these self-doubts, but we're still here, and we're here for a reason. Just that alone, even if it's just empathizing, probably could have done wonders for a lot of our self-esteem, and we could be living a better life in terms of relationships. And instead of having people go no contact with their parents because mom and dad kind of said, I'm not going to coddle you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about coddling me. It's about making me feel like I'm supported.
The S word that nobody wants to talk about in our communities, the support.
No,
like,
God,
it's like, if I acknowledge that there's something wrong with you, then it must be something wrong with me. Are you saying something wrong? No. This isn't even about you. But I'm like, always talking like, it's not even about you. And that's what pisses people off a lot, is that when you say, no, this isn't even about you. Oh, so it's just you, huh? I'm like, make up your mind. You want to be in the bucket or out of the bucket, but you don't get to just hang on to it.
Oh, yeah. And, and it's not just the psychological part of it. It's also the physical health part, because again, you can't admit a weakness, right? But the best part about it was, like, my mom felt, we discovered she had cancer, because again, why do you want to go to the doctor for? And I don't like getting poked up and prodded by the doctor. I'm like, you need to get blood work done. Like, it needs to happen so that you could at least know where you stand, even if you do nothing about it.
Yeah.
Even if you do nothing about it, just know about yourself. Like, just know and share. Because that was the other thing. When she found out, because it was just theatric drama at that time, because it was just like, she needed to go to the hospital emergency. We had to go through surgery for her arm because she had a blood clot from the cancer that was just... And I find out from the emergency room doctor in a very flamboyant fashion, because he was very fabulous. He's like, what do you mean you don't know your mother has cancer? It's stage 4. It's terminal. And I'm like, oh, I'm like,
I need a therapist right now. Therapist on stat. Like, what the fuck you say to me? No.
I was just like, sir, you need to calm down. Like, he came at me like I was the one that was the problem. And I said, my dear, no.
Didn't know.
And I had no clue, but that's also, again,
that generation. And hide everything, say nothing. You don't need to know. I'm like, I need to know, because did your grandmother pass from this? Did you have a sister who passed? I need to know, because that means that my health is now, I need to pay attention to this. Mm-hmm. And if we don't talk about these things, y'all, I always say, they talk about lineage, they talk about legacy. We're not going to be alive because you won't tell us what's happening in the family.
Right.
Just give us something.
And, this kind of comes down to like like one of those story moments that definitely share it. It evolved at that point because my mother was in her deathbed, in pain, going through it. Don't tell anybody what I have. I said, that is messed up, man. Why are you keeping secret? Like, you're in the hospital. Your sister, who you talk to every single day, is going to notice that there's a problem because you didn't talk to her yesterday or today, maybe not even tomorrow. But I'm the one that's going to get the phone calls, and I have to deal with the consequences of you wanting to be secretive.
And if I'm your sister and I have this, I need to tell my siblings, like, hey, due to some things happening in our family that you might want to be privy to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, because I'm telling you, if she can't get a phone call from you because you're dead, how is that gonna work out? And I can't be anybody's best friend. That's why I tell people, like, I can't be your best friend. Don't have it in me.
Yeah, and let me tell you, that's kind of what was starting to happen after my mom passed, because she did ultimately succumb to it, but because we found it too late, and she held on for a year and a half, but at the same time, that was a rough year and a half for her.
Yeah,
She self-isolated, and she didn't want anybody to visit, and people were blaming me somehow because you're keeping her away from us. I said, that is obviously not the person that I was like, what kind of monster do you guys think I am? Like, I'm just saying. I was like, I just have a full-time job that treats me like I live there. I don't know how else to tell you this. Like, I'm sorry that I have to work.
Please. Yeah, but I really think that sickness brings out the worst in some people. It's like death in weddings. Yeah, I don't know why weddings make people so upset, but it really does. But death and sickness, just like whatever they think about you, or the little nickel like thing that's in the back of their head that they've been trying to hold off, starts to come out, and you're like, I would have never thought that was just you. This is you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, note to self: when all of this is done, I'm not sure I can call you back right now, because
I was like, we're gonna drop a few relatives, just saying. But yeah, it's like, and the thing is, it's like, growing up, it's a huge community family where everybody sees you grow up. You're there every weekend. You're growing up with your cousins. They know all your business. There's zero privacy. So talk about two sides of the coin, right? We don't need to know about all this stuff, but I will tell my relatives about all the stuff that you're doing that you're not supposed to be doing. And then all the relatives start calling you up and chastising you, like, why would you do this to your mother and your father? They worked so hard for you. And I'm like, I just wanted a little earring hole. That's all I just wanted one little earring hole. Like, I didn't even disgrace the family by doing anything wrong, And I kid you not, that was a true story. I took it upon myself to pierce my ear again and just have a second little hole, because that was the style back then when I was, when we were little.
It's still the same. It's a style now.
It's still, oh yeah, no, now it's like socially acceptable, right? But back then,
in Catholic,
oh yeah, it was a crime against myself, my family. I was just, it was terrible. My role model status was just taking a nosedive. And
so I'll just wear my hair in grunge style so nobody will ever see the piercing. Okay,
it was, oh yeah. And when I got my first tattoo, which was a little tiny thing, the world ended.
It did. It blew up, didn't it? It stopped on its axis.
It ended. My mother's like, she's turning into a floozy, and I'm like, I'm still graduating from college with a good career. What is the concern, But then there was one moment where I was able to get her to kind of like be okay with it. And it was like, I was taking this tattoo, and it was kind of bland at first, right? It was just, the Eye of Ra. I have a thing with Egyptian mythology and all mythologies. So I was like, this is nice. It's like a talisman, like I want to have a protection on me. So I'm going to get this. Then my friend's cousin is a tattoo artist, and she was up and coming, starting off.
Okay.
So my mother was alone on a Saturday, and she's like, so what are we doing today? I was like, we? Me. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I was like, wait, you want to go with me where I'm going? Because then I started getting a little saucy. She's like, yeah, I want to go where you're going. She's like, wait, where are we going? I'm like, no. We're going where I'm going today. So
Just said, ha.
let's do it. So I take her to the tattoo shop. She's like, well, where are we going? I'm like, it's not a surprise until you get there. So we get there. She's like, oh, this is a tattoo parlor. Oh, this is interesting. Like you could see the range of emotions through her face. Like, I'm not supposed to be okay with coming here.
But I'm intrigued. I'm so intrigued.
And I think she got even more intrigued when it was a female tattoo artist.
Okay.
And then, I told her, oh, I'm sorry. Did I lose you?
No.
Okay. Sorry. It's just that my computer decided to throw a little. I was like,
where did you go? I'm like, no, I'm still here. I see the concern in your face. I see the concern. You're like, oh my God, what happened?
I was like, no. So I told my friend, because at that point she was my friend, I said, hey, do me a favor, zhuzh it up, make it girly and pretty for me. And she's like, all right, cool. So she takes out her markers, and it was like the pink highlighter Sharpie. My mom's looking at it. She's like, oh, what are you doing? like she was throwing so much shade. Like, this
simmer down. You're so saucy.
She's like, this is going to be ugly, right? And then when she finally saw it and it was finalized, I said, no, she was just drawing it so she knows where to go with the pen, because she thought the marker was it. I said, oh, we haven't gotten started yet, Mom. But I got to tell you, she was intrigued, and she was kind of happy at the end of it, because now out of her sisters, out of all the bunch of sisters she has, she's the cool mom now. She's the cool mom. She's like, I went to a tattoo parlor with my daughter.
Telling the story for weeks. Mom.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, I took the hit so that my little cousins can go ahead and get their tattoos without being judged or criticized. Because now the role model's back, took her mommy with her, and we're okay now. We made peace with the experience.
Generational trauma, check. Come on, let's go do this.
Oh yeah, and it's great because this was before she got sick, so it was like a long time ago. But it was one of my ways of like saying, you know what, let's build a better relationship than the one I had growing up, where she was very strict, very protective. The 80s were just a scary time for parents too.
Yes.
Like the 80s were very, like, there was so much criminal activity because people were just dying because they were poor. And how do you survive that if you're not trying to get something to feed your family?
Yeah.
You steal batteries from cars, radios from cars. You might hold somebody up, and if you're out late at night, you might get mugged. Like, that was a reality of the 80s, and she was busy listening to the radio stations that were only announcing all the horrible news.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, I can't be living with this kind of anxiety. Like,
I have secondary anxiety from you. I'm not even listening to the radio.
I was like, I'm only 8 years old. Can you calm down? Like, please.
But my mom was like that. So I have 2 other siblings, and my mom, I was the first, and the first and a daughter.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's a different life.
That it is.
And she was just like, her big thing used to be, she said, you see that light one over there? Because my mother is probably like, no, she's probably easily like about maybe 6 shades darker than me. She's like a beautiful cocoa, like one of those ones where like their skin never looks like it just ages. It's just, I'm like, thanks, Mom. You had to let the colonizers get me, but you just walks off. But really, it was my father's fault, not my mom's. Well, technically, it's all their fault because it's just a bunch of mutts over here is what we do. But she was just like, you can't leave the porch. You can listen to music. I'll make sure you have these things, but you cannot. And I lucked up and did not. And I grew up very paranoid for a very long. And when I had my kids, I almost passed it along. And then I was like, listen, my give is, whoever your best friend is, me and the mother or the dad, we're going to learn how to love each other. And you can go to that house. So they can come to our house and you can go to that house. But I can't just be having you out here spending the night at all these different people's houses, because I don't trust them, and they shouldn't trust me until they know me. You know, I'm like, and like you said, the 80s here in Maryland, in Baltimore,
Yeah.
you know,
And I grew up going to New York City, so it's like, like Batman's Gotham. That place was terrible. I know where they got it from. I was there. I saw it, and it was
it's
scary,
not a
but
movie, it's real life.
I was like, what? That the Joker was the guy that ran the bodega around the corner,
Yeah, but the bodega has the best sandwiches though. Every time I go to, I love New York street food. I know I could die. I know that water may not have been changed for like 7 years, but it's like the best shit ever.
It's so good. It's the best of the worst. I love it too.
I do. I tell people everywhere I go, I always ask, I'm like, where do the locals eat? And I don't want the locals who go to touristy places. No, where do you eat when you eat and then you fall asleep? Like when you have the best meal and then you go to sleep? That's
yeah.
That's my thing. Like
that's where the heart lives.
I love Italian food, but I love old Italian, no cheese, when it's just like pasta and sauce and it's just like enough wine in your sauce to make you drunk.
Yes, that's proper. It's proper.
I'm here. I'm like, and I haven't, I went to Florida and had some Cuban. Every time we go to Florida, I always eat Cuban food down there. And when I could eat dairy, I would be in Miami and eat like at the local, like only 3 of us fit in there. Like it was just 3 of us in there. You never knew what the guy beside you was saying or gonna do to you. It was you never knew. You showed up. But we had a chance to go all the way to the very tip of Florida, closest to where Cuba, like at the where you were like where you saw them, they were like, they can swim across here. I'm like, swim where? They're gonna die on the rock. Nobody's swimming over here. But I know that when you're trying to get free, I'm sure there's some things happening. But we had some of the best Cuban food. Just like the food when you get out, you're like, we're gonna fall asleep on the way back to the hotel. This is gonna be.
Oh yeah. Oh that's that Hispanic soul food. Like you was made with love, and that it took a while to make, but it was perfect. And for me, like that's one of the things that when I'm cooking, like I try at certain times to duplicate the recipes that I learned from my mother and my grandmother. Because those two women were like, they were difficult, but they were my inspiration on like, no nonsense, know your business. And you know what? That's all. People will respect you because you are who you say you are and you show up and you have to be consistent.
Yeah, you're as close to your authentic self as you can be. What's your favorite meals?
So for myself, when I'm cooking, I think my favorite is the New Year's Eve dish, which is a stew. It's a 7-meat stew sancocho. And it's made with a lot of root vegetables like yuca, which is cassava. And although some people might use potatoes, I try not to because there's so many other root vegetables that we inherited from our African ancestors that it's like, no, you got to go with our great grandpas and grandmas stuff because that's where it is. I've had people watch me make it. They're like, what is that? I was like, you're gonna eat it and you're gonna like it.
Mind your business. Don't look in the pot. That's how I feel when I eat at Korean food. I'm like, I stop their mom. I'm like, if your grandmother is making us food, I'm not gonna ask her what she's doing. Who am I? Disrespectful, showing up talking about, I don't eat that. I shut my mouth. I'm like, when I was pregnant with my second child, one of my coworkers was like, come to my mom's restaurant. We walk in, it smells like it's garlic everywhere. What she was doing whenever you came in, she had like a Home Depot bucket of garlic. And she would just be peeling the garlic all the time, fresh garlic. And she would be like, oh, baby, like not a lot of English. And she would just be like, sit down. And I would sit down and whatever she fed me, she would send me plates of food. I'm like, I'm like, ma'am, I am pregnant. I'm sure that I have diabetes now. I don't even know what you did to me, but I'm like, I love cultural food. I love ethnic food. I love food that like has a lot of heart in it.
Yes.
You know, and I feel like that's a lot of that like island type food that like not struggle food, because struggle food is different. That's like having oodles and noodles and hot dogs. That's different. Which I used to eat. It was the bomb.com back in the day when we couldn't afford no food. You just season it up with other things, onions, garlic. You put some stuff in it. It made it good.
Oh yeah.
But just like that authentic food that makes it makes your soul happy. And you feel like it connects you to, like you said, it connects you to your roots. Your mom, your grandma, you like, I love them. They were crazy sometimes. But I love them. And they told me that's why I always say, I'm like, sometimes you feel like your relationship with your ancestors is so broken, but like later on, you're like, oh, they were trying to tell me some things, but I wasn't old enough to take it in. Because you know, like you say, when you're 8 years old, you don't need to hear all of that. You're like, no. Can we cook something, please? You make cookies?
Absolutely. And it's and you know, like one of the best compliments I got was I had my cousins that were, you know, we grew up together in New York, you know, same grandma. And I said, all right, I'm gonna make this for New Year's. All right, so come through. And they both said that like this, you know, like they almost wanted to cry. Even the oldest one was like, this is grandma's recipe. And I'm like,
I love you. Thank you so much. Validation.
I was like, I did it right. You know, I made a couple calls and said, just to make sure I have everything I need, do I have the ingredients? Because I can get the flavors in there, but if there's something missing, then it's not right.
And it's always it's the small thing. It's the little small things that you're like, they were like, I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to make a really good stew and you don't have bay leaves, you're throwing yourself off. It shouldn't make a difference. It should not.
But it does. And you can tell, you're like, something's off. I don't know what it is.
I'm like, no, but look, we just strayed so far away from what we were supposed to be talking about. Okay, so, but we did look, but surprisingly, when the list that we were working from, we talked about vulnerability, we talked about breaking down barriers, we talked about self-reflection, we talked about compassion for others. You actually talked about your two major influences. Like somehow you like blended it right in there.
Yeah, sometimes it works that way though, if you think about it. And that's why I said, I was like, with a good conversation, everything's going to get touched on.
I'm like, so good. But a big thing for me has always been, especially with conversation, I love people who are not afraid to like crack open. Because it's scary as I don't know what to be honest, because nowadays they don't really want you to be honest. Like I'll be leaving work and the security guard will be like, I have a lady security guard at my job, and she'll be like, you look so nice today. And she was like, how was your day? And I'm like, I want to take my wig and my bra off. She's like, that's what she does. She laughs. She was like, I just love you. I'm like, listen, some days are good, some days are not. And I want to be honest all the time, because I don't want you to say, yesterday you were doing so well. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I lost yesterday, ma'am. I had a hole in my tights, my underwear went backwards. Like there was things happening with me that was so wrong.
You're like, I worked through it. It doesn't mean I was happy doing it.
That was absolutely, I want a t-shirt. I'm not happy. I'm just doing it. That's what I wanted to say, because I'm like,
you can make that happen. I know people. I know people who can make all the t-shirts happen.
I'm like, I have a t-shirt printer in the room, and every time I think about it, this is where my small bit of ADHD is. I have printers and paint, and because I think about it, I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm tired. I thought about it. It should already have happened. Why isn't it magically like Fantasia? Why isn't it fixing itself? It should be mopping the floor. Cleaning out the bucket.
Like, I just want things to happen. I just want to like snap my fingers and oh my God, the floor has been mopped.
That's Like somebody
Wouldn't that
cook
be
the food.
nice?
I want my recipe to fall out my head onto the stove. Abracadabra, pop meal.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't, but, and I know that part of it is that when you, like, I think we are always embarrassed to admit burnout. Like when you said, you've finished that, I always say you transition from the 10-year career into trying to figure out what else can I do with this life? What can I do with the skill set I have? What can I do with all the knowledge that I've learned? Because when you're in the job, you don't realize how much you know.
Right.
Because you do it every day. It's like, I wake up, I breathe, I wash, I go to work, I do my job, I come home. And learning how to make that job, all those skill sets into something else, I'm like, you burn out. Like, I don't care who you are. 10 years is a long time to be doing the same thing. I've been doing the same thing for 25 years. Brain just be like.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's where I sit back and I kind of like giving back to the community of up and coming college students. I'm a part of a business fraternity, and it's co-ed. So I get to, I occasionally have had the opportunity to work with, all different ages, and we have conversations, and some of these kids walk in there like with their power suits on, and I'm like, you're adorable, but do you feel like, did you come up with this, or did someone help you come up with this? I came up with my career because somebody injected the thought into my ear. But explore at all my gifts and the things that I'm good at, that I like, that I'm good at. Because if not, I think there might have been a different outcome as to what I'd be doing today.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, it's not like, everybody's like, well, you still have time to do the thing you love to do. I said, not at the salary I'm getting.
I'm tired.
First of all, that's sweet. Secondly, the thing that I love is going to become what I call a hobby. So long as I get up in rank enough to have somebody else do the heavy lifting, and I just have to sign the checks.
Absolutely. I can sign so well. Electronic, would you like a direct deposit? Because I can push this button.
I'm like, what do you need? What do you need? Just don't make me look bad, because I spent my life trying so hard to get here.
I'm with you. I think that was really big for me, getting to a second, and I didn't really want to have a second career per se. I wanted to have a second love. I wanted to have something that, walking into the next version of myself, that I loved what it looked like. I loved who she was. I loved how she carried herself. I loved that she had ambition and she wanted to embrace the newness. And I love meeting people like that, because we have to eat. We have to. I mean, I do. Maybe you don't want to eat, but I have to eat, because I get hangry, and then I'm a different person. I'm not nice. I'm not nice.
Same here.
But I love seeing when people like figure out, like you said, sometimes it becomes a hobby, but the hobby starts to build on itself, and then the two kind of blend together, and you're like, maybe I can do it. I don't know. But I'm with you. If I can pay you to do what I know, that would be preferable.
Right. And I mean, it's all possible. I think that people have to give each other some space and grace to explore and exercise it, entertain it, and work with people that are going to help you get to the next level at what you want to do. I mean, networking is awesome. I feel that every conversation is a networking opportunity, and it doesn't have to be self-serving. It could just be like, hey, what are you good at? What are you looking for?
Yes.
Anyway, I could set you up with a friend who's in this business that could complement what you're trying to accomplish. So why don't you give me the okay and connect the dots?
Because you just made me think of something. So today I was so every day I do a lot of research on mental health resources. That's really big. Something I try to post. Last week I did all week on Instagram. I usually don't post it on TikTok, and I think that's just me getting comfortable with being on TikTok in a business manner. Because TikTok is a different breed. It's a different breed of people. It's very interesting some days where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with this. But then I see some people who are really like, they can blend their fun and their work together. I usually keep them separated because I'm not interested in trying to explain. But it's called the Steve Fund. The name Steve, the Steve Fund. And
Okay.
what it does is it helps college age students of color, all marginalized backgrounds, and it gives them workshops and seminars, workforce transitions, higher education consultant services. I thought about you when you just said that because it's what you're doing. It's what you're doing. But it seems like one of those places where if you are very interested in helping people going into college and college age students really understand what life is about and giving them resources, it may be something you might want to look into, which I thought was pretty cool because they have all these resources for youth and college students. And I was kind of just looking at some of them. Some of them have died off from COVID, like they didn't make it through COVID. But that particular one kind of stuck with me because when I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't think anybody gave two smacks about me when college was happening. They're like, oh, you're going to go? Okay, well, how much do I have to pay? Is it free? Like, if you can go for free, okay. So your mental health is what at college? But you need to get this degree. It doesn't matter how you feel, get this degree. And it's like, I'm struggling.
And the thing is that growing up, we didn't have that level of compassion from people around us when things were going downhill.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, it's like, how do we correct the cycle? How do we fix it? How do we make it better? And how do we give people the bandwidth and the platform to open up a little bit more so that people don't feel so alone? Because another expression that kind of falls into it is like, no man is an island. It's so true. I don't care.
But I think it's what you're doing. You spreading your knowledge, you talking about you going through it. I think that we are now the generation that needs to talk, you know, and it's so hard sometimes to open up because we were judged so young. You know, you were moving too fast, you were being grown, you were a sinner, you were going to hell. It's like, okay, like, I get it.
I mean, is it fun there? Like, come on. But I don't go anywhere that isn't fun. So let's talk about that.
You know, but I think that us talking about these things and having these like conversations and admitting that, no, this was fun. This particular part wasn't. I went through what you're going through now. So let's talk about it. You tell me what you're going through and I'm going to help you work through it. Yeah. And I think that makes all the difference. And I mean, and honestly, there's so many tools that are out there to help. So we never had that. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, if we had a counselor who would listen to us, that would have been.
Oh, that would have been crucial. It would have been key.
The counselor was like, I'm out.
My counselor was interesting. She was repressed theater major, I feel, and she just wanted to be very literary and oh yes, honors English. And I'm like, girl, I am trying to be a businesswoman. Like, stop. Just stop.
It's like, look, I'm in the hood. I'm just trying to get out. Okay, it don't matter what you give me a career that's out of this part.
Yeah,
yes, please.
And I went to a Catholic school in the hood too, which was even better.
Me too. Oh my God. What ages? You went the whole time?
No, I actually started in middle school till the end of high school.
I did middle school. Different atmosphere. I went from hood, Catholic hood.
Yeah.
Hood. It was very different.
Yeah, I was the one that actually prompted the Catholic school move. I remember the middle school we had that I was going to be assigned to was around the corner from where I lived. And we would drive past there. I was like 9, 10 years old. And I was like, Mom, those kids are fighting. I don't fight. I don't think I could fight every day, Mom. This isn't for me. Can we go to Catholic school? And my mother's like, I never thought you'd ask. My dad's like, seriously, I gotta pay now? I'm like, do you want me to live? Because I don't want to fight. And he's like,
I'm not a fighter. I'm a forgiver.
I was like, I can make people feel bad by telling jokes about them, and that's not gonna help me stop getting a fist in my face. Like, this isn't gonna work.
I'm like, always, my mom was like, you can't go, same thing, you cannot go to these middle schools. I can't send you to these middle schools. I'm like, I don't fight, okay? Like, I don't even wear like name brand clothes. I can't help you make this better. I'm like, I was a skinny, light-skinned chick with long hair and no eyes. I look like that Muppet from off the Muppet Show, like the chick who had the red lips and like
I know what you're talking about from the band.
Lips, that was me, okay? I didn't smoke or have a gold tooth, but that was me. You was trying to send me into the wolves.
Oh.
So she was like, I'm gonna send you to Catholic school. And honestly, Catholic school helped me. It helped middle school because it was a little bit of kids. I mean, it was like under 300 kids in the whole school, easy.
Yeah.
And the most risque thing that happened was somebody like blew condoms up and threw them out the window, like inside of the school. Outside, we had to go past another high school that used to beat the people from the Catholic school. I'm like, what is happening? And I never got caught in it because I'm like, hey, I know the rules. When the bell lets out, you never leave. You never leave when the bell lets out because that's how you get beat up. And you got to leave and go around the building and go the opposite way, get on the bus, going the wrong way, cross the street with your transfer, come back in.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it was survival tactics. Best thing for me was the discipline. It's like, that's why I felt like I was super successful because I only had 3 minutes between each class in high school, which left me no time to wander and do the ADHD thing about chasing my tail. It's like, no, you got to go to class, work, finish, move it along.
Before they call my mom up to the school. My mother,
Yeah.
I was like, she's never coming up here. You don't understand. She's different, okay? She's not going to show up in rollers. She's going to look like she's being nice. She's going to have like a smile on her face, but it's that clown smile when
she's going to kick you. She's going to get you later.
You're like, oh my God, what did you say? What did you say to her? I'm like, I remember one year, and maybe this is also the reason why I got sent to Catholic school. So I was in public school, and the teacher decided that her rule was you raise your hand, you go to the bathroom. Okay, so I raised my hand. She must have been having a bad day. Raise my hand. And at some point, I'm sure my mouth was busy. I said, my hand is up. And she just looked at me and she was like, and I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. May I go to the bathroom? And she snatched my arm up out the chair. And I was one of those people, you don't touch me. Of all the things we can do, my mom used to always say, don't let people just touch you because I had already gone through sexual assault. So you touch me without me saying touch me was like setting a fire. All she did was like, whew. So she lost a couple of teeth. Now, let me say that I bet you she never touched another kid though. I bet you.
That's right.
And that was the worst thing I ever did in school. And I felt bad only because she lost her teeth. Like, I didn't feel bad about touching her, but I was like, how loose are your teeth that like a fourth grader took them out? Like, let's talk about this.
You're like, ma'am, you need to revisit your dental hygiene. Just saying.
Like, she had something else going on. I know y'all try to blame me, but
you're like, I'm just the catalyst to her healing.
My mother was like, so why did she hit her? So why did she touch her? So are we going to talk about the reason your teacher's touching people? They were like, no, we were just, I was like, don't condone what I did, but like, right on, mom. Like, just.
And that's the thing with like, tough moms, they're scary. And it almost, like I had a situation, I was in the 2nd grade, and this is like regular public school bully situation. And my mom's like, what's going on? Because I was a little bit of a punk, like I didn't let any, I didn't think it's okay, you can be, whatever. Let people just walk all over you, right?
Yeah, you got moments. You have moments. We all have moments.
My mother was like, what's happening at school? Is your teacher being such and such? And I was like, no. She's like, who's bothering you? I was like, nobody. She's like, you're acting weird and you're different. So something's going on. And if it's at school, I'm going to go fight your teacher right now. And I said, oh, yeah, so-and-so is being a bully, Mom. And they're being really mean and pinching me and blah, 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 blah. But don't fight the teacher, please. Because the teacher.
Don't fight the teacher.
Well, my mother went to the teacher and the kid got he got scolded, because back then that was when teachers were like pulling kids by the ear and sending them to punishment. And if you were punished during recess, forget it.
I know recess was, first off, let's talk about recess. It was the best, worst thing ever. Best, worst thing. If you were an athletic kid or a loud kid, you did well. If you were a meek kid, it was like Welcome to the Jungle started playing when that bell rang. And you spent your whole time trying to figure out how to dodge the traffic. You're like, we're trying to not get hurt.
Exactly. You're just sitting back. You're like, oh man. And then they're gonna start the little fight circles, because God forbid.
Oh my, no. I was a reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I was a target, okay? Like target practice. Just like, oh, so you read now. Yeah.
Like, what's your problem?
I'm like, but I feel like all the things that happened when I was younger, the bullying, the craziness, now when I look at myself, I'm like, I can accept people for who they are. It doesn't matter what's going on. I can see through your bullshit so fast.
Yep.
So freaking fast. And I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm like, after a while, name calling, you just like,
that's all you got? That's nothing.
I'm like, and if you live in a family that also picks on you.
Yep.
Because you got a family. You have like.
Everybody had a nickname. You had Fatty 1, Fatty 2. I was the black one. My sister and I, my younger sister and I, we have, like you could tell we're sisters, but I'm obviously the more chocolatey brown, I guess, compared to her, because she got my dad's, Spaniard side, I guess.
So is he from the DR?
No, he's from Cuba. So he's Cuban and my mom's Dominican. So they used to be like, yeah, that's the dark one right there, and that's the white one. And I'm like, good golly, you guys are really not creative,
They were never going to be creative, because it's really hard now, especially now. You're like, you got to do better than black and white, dude. Like, I'm like, I remember a guy called me a frog. That was his insult for black people, was a frog. And I was so analytical. I still am. But I was like, a frog? I said, you do know frogs, they can be brown, but it's a different kind of brown, and it's because they're not wet. But once they get wet, it looks more like an olivey, milky gray kind of a color. And he was just like, what are you talking about?
How did you come up with that?
I was like, I can't accept your racist remark because it doesn't make any sense. I was like, now, if you called me like a monkey, a booger, something, I got you. But you have no originality. And his son was like one of those little white kids who wore like hip hop clothes, like more close to Eminem. And he just was raging out, Dad, you're so embarrassed. Like, he lost it. And the man was so mad because he was like, he couldn't offend me, because I'm like, dude, I grew up with big lips and small. I've had it all come at me from just name an intersection. I've heard it. And you had frog? Said you didn't do well. You didn't do well. No.
I was like, you were on the short bus, weren't you, sir?
I'm just like, that's why I say now, like, I watch Instagram, Facebook, and all the people and that was racist. I'm like, you don't know what racist is yet, dude. Like,
no, not at all. And that's the thing. It's like, it was never right, and it'll never be right. And the thing is, you're growing up in an environment, when we grew up, that was open territory for everything. Yes. Everybody was a target. You didn't speak American waspy English, guess what? You're a target. Plain and simple. And at the end of the day, you're either gonna rise above it, or B, become a statistic because of that. And you're gonna make a choice.
Absolutely.
And I've seen it in my family because we have, so many people. It's like so many different personalities. It's like, there's all love all around. We love each other very much, but everybody made different choices along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, damn, and one thing that I always tell people, it's like, you can tell a lot based off of what you didn't hear growing up.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, I heard all the time from my mom was, I love you, and I have zero issues telling my family when I talk to them on the phone, I love you, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. And the response I get is the Spanish equivalent of ditto. And I'm like, oh. And I tell them, I was like, you are absolutely terrible. Like, you need to start saying it, because if your kids haven't heard it this whole existence, because you made a choice not to say it, why don't you say it? Like, what is wrong? These are your kids. You made them. Like, talk to them. Tell them you love them.
Yep.
And
somebody else is going to come along and say, I love you. And they're going to be like, oh my God. I'm like, no, this is basic. This is
baseline,
basic.
like,
yes. This is below this subpar. This love is.
Yeah. And it's like that, just that small 3 words that mean so much. And it's validating. And it's like, it comes from your home. It comes from your heart. And for me, it's like, I had to kind of grow into saying it more often, because I was also becoming that person that was holding back from saying it. And I'm like, I'm limiting how good a relationship I could have with my friends and my family.
Yeah.
Because I'm not letting them know what they mean to me.
Yes. Until we meet at a funeral, and you're like, I really love them. And I agree with you. I have, so I have a group of girlfriends, my family in general, all of us in this house. Like, it doesn't matter if we're going to talk to you in 5 minutes. We're like, I love you. All right, bye. And we get off the phone. My mom, same way. Now, difference is my mother's generation. You'd be like, I love you. And they'd be like, mm-hmm. And you're like, yo.
I get that too. Too.
And then sometimes she'll send me like a meme. They'll be like, I love you so much. You're the bestest thing ever. I'm like, yo, you could have said it out your mouth. Like, she was like, oh, let's try. Just stuck in there.
I was like, what's wrong? Is it like a curse word? Like, let me know.
It is. But I had one of my girlfriends, because I would say, I'm like, all right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. And she like pulled me to the side one day and she was like, I don't want you to think that I'm rude. She was like, but I've never heard that. We don't do that in my family. And I said, okay, but I do. And if it makes you really uncomfortable, I'll stop. I said, but you'll know from me if I care for you or not. And that's how I care. And you just let me know. And she was like, no, just, if I don't say it back, just know it's not because I don't want to. I'm just learning. And now you look at it, and her kids, they say it all the time, and they talk to each other. And, it's just one of those things where I think sometimes you got to, like, you saying it helps unlock somebody else's freedom.
Yeah. And we're also in a touch deprived society too, where hugging is like really a big old question mark.
Yes.
And there's that yearning for human contact, yearning for human connection. And to me, it's like, wow, that's a hard pill to swallow, but a real one too, because
you never know who's going to say something to you. Like, I'm not a touch person. I'm big on space, but if I love you, you pretty much have, like, just, you can do whatever.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bite you anyway. Like, it's gonna happen. That's why I love the cartoons that they have, the videos where, like, the cartoon, they hug and then they bite. I was like, that's me. I don't mean to do it, but I'm gonna do it. But you're so right that everybody's looking for compassion, but they don't know how to get it anymore. Like, it's just not or they know how to give it, but they're scared, because you're like, I can't be the part of the Me Too movement. I can't be a part of I don't want to be accused of touching anybody's children or wives or nothing. So I'm just gonna do this, I'm like, but that's why I like our generations.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to, like, all right, you know what? What's your boundary? Let's talk about it, and I'll respect it. You know what? If the only amount of touch that you could do is my elbow tapping your elbow, then let's tap elbows. I'm a hugger, but I'm also, I also feel like to the degree of what you're saying, like the Me Too movement, and people also going through processing trauma that I may
Yes,
not be aware of, like sexual trauma is a real thing.
it is
And
so real.
and the thing is, it doesn't have an end date. There's no end date to that trauma, no matter how early it happened or how late it happened in your life. It could still be triggered by somebody just touching you the wrong way. And that's something that, again, it comes down to having those conversations and being transparent, being yourself, and having the platform to do it, the place to
Yeah,
do it with the
and,
right
and being
people.
open to it, because I think that for me, one of the places that I'm really going to like hunker down into is men's health and men's mental health.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about how much they were molested and they were touched.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they are overly touchy because they don't know any other language. Like it's just, that's the I love you. That's the you're a
Yeah.
good person, and that was one of those things that I think that, and that's why that your love-hate relationship with social media, it's like it exposes so much on all the sides. You're like, I didn't know people could be this crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but also I didn't know that you suffered this much, or I didn't know that you could be this lovable, or I didn't know you could be this mean and evil. Like, why would you be mean on purpose just to, I mean, sure, click and views, whatever you need, but I don't
Yeah.
do videos for clicks. I had to get over that because else you'll make yourself crazy.
Yeah, of course. It's like if I get views and somebody actually feels something cool about what I have to say, great. And at the end of the day, if I'm going through it, which I have been, like I'm not gonna post anything because right now I was like, I need to find my words for me before I can put it out there for the world.
Yes. No, I agree with you. And I'm like, oh, we went over. See, that's why I love conversations. Cause like
Yeah.
my brain was like, did we talk a long time? And I was like, maybe not. Oh, we did talk.
Oh no, I have you down for till 9:30.
No, we
So
do, but I'm just saying, like, it has been
yeah.
good. Like I enjoy conversations where you heal a little bit. You know what I mean? Where you bond a little bit, you connect a little bit. You realize that, oh, so you was a Catholic kid too. You had to do it because your brain functioned differently when them nuns came in there. It was like, what?
The nuns at summertime. Girls, you want to keep your legs crossed. I'm like, ma'am, please.
I'm like,
First of all, you do not know my mother. Secondly, ain't nothing happening over here. So, but thank you for caring.
first off, I always tell people, I was like, I was never boy crazy. I
Mhm.
was one boy crazy, and I'm married to him because we've been together since we were 13 and 14. And I
So
was like,
sweet.
so I'm like, that's the one thing. And I look now at my children, and my youngest has been with her girlfriend, I mean, with their girlfriend since 11th grade.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they came out and was like, it was always tell people, I'm like, never embarrassed. They like, Mom, I'm gay. I was like, okay, so have fun at the movies. What? Like, I was like, what do you want from me? Like, I got nothing. Okay, you're still a person. You're still my child.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
And
whatever. Like, I mean, not whatever in the sense of I'm diminishing what you told me, but like the movie starts, I paid my money.
you need to go. You want what? You want me to like talk to you more about this? And you know what? Like, and that right there, that's another conversation topic too, because it's like coming from a Catholic family, you marry the opposite sex because you're meant to marry and have kids, or you're meant to have kids.
Yeah,
So you're
period.
already sexual, period, right? Like
But you
I'm
better not have kids before you get married.
or
But you better
graduate,
know
yeah.
what you're doing the night of.
Basically, it's like, but how? And the thing was, like, I had a couple of relatives in my family that were in the closet, like my little sister and one of my cousins. Now, my cousin, he was a little more extroverted, and you could tell that there's a possibility he might be in that situation, he started off by saying, I'm bi. And I'm like, no. But okay.
You got to
say
walk the walk down. It's the walk down. You'd be like,
yeah. And the thing was like, his father, his
mm,
grandmother, and then, my mom. My mom had a hard time with my sister. And I was, at a point where I told my sister, I was like, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life because it's your happiness. However, talking about it with our parents at this moment might not be ideal because they're not ready to receive the message.
yeah.
And I'm a good person to deliver a message of some sort, but I painted a really awesome picture for my mom one time that kind of changed her because she was very much against marriage between same-sex couples. And I'm like, all right, ma'am, I'm going to tell you something right now. We're going to have a conversation that's going to maybe open your eyes and hopefully give you a little bit of compassionate view. She's like, all right. I said, you married dad who was married previously to another woman through the Catholic Church, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, you didn't get married through the Catholic Church. So therefore, by the Catholic Church's eyes, you are not married, right? And she's like, she's like, yeah. I was like, all right. So let's say the Catholic Church is the only thing that matters in law. Dad gets sick. You're here. You've been with him longer than she was ever with him. His kids haven't lived with him for as long as you've been with him, which is a lot longer than they were together. But somehow he's not in a place where he can make a decision for himself. They're going to go to his ex-wife who's not been with him for the last 25 years, 30 years. Do you think it's fair that you get pushed to the side, even though you've been dealing with his nonsense, his health issues up until this point? I was like, that's what's happening to a lot of these couples that have been together faithfully for all these years, committed to each other. After the family shunned them because they love who they love, how are you going to come about feeling comfortable saying they don't deserve to be heard, but you do? You're in a similar boat. You both broke the rules. And then she's like, damn, I didn't think about that. I said, no.
They never do think like that. They just,
but
because I love how you say, I'm not going to attack you. Let's just give you a scenario that feels really unfair, right? Because when you start bringing, and then if the ex-wife gets to make a decision, how you going to feel about that, Ma?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't burn the church down because it's the law, right? Like, it's going to hurt your feelings. You want your feelings hurt? Yes or no? And I'm like, I would much, I always say, and today was a video I saw. Again, I would much rather learn to adjust myself than to be reading an obituary. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lose the people that I love because I couldn't figure out how to accept something. And acceptance doesn't mean that you agree with it. It means that you love the people that you love and you want them around. So like, hey, I don't fully understand what's happening, but I want to be in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I told my kids, I was like, listen, y'all, it's very little that you can tell me. I mean, you start pedophile, murder. We need to really have a full conversation. Murder for what? We need to have a conversation. Pedophile can't talk to you anymore. Not interested at all.
It's a hard no.
Like, I said, but okay, all right. I mean, I pray you never become an addict or anything like that. But we need to, those are things that at least we can try to work through.
Right.
But I'm like, your sexuality, I'm not sleeping with you. I don't give a crap what you do.
And that's the truth. It's like, this is your life. This is what's going to determine whether or not you need to be medicated for depression in the future, because at the end of the day, that's one thing that you shouldn't have to think twice about.
I agree with you 100%. And that's why I'm like, but again, I feel like growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the amount of stuff you've seen, if that didn't help you accept people, I don't know. And that's why I sometimes am like, if you were born in the 50s and 60s, and then you saw the 70s, 80s, and 90s and early 2000s, and your brain said, no, like, what were you doing? Because the amount of change that happened from the 50s to the
Up
2000.
until now.
As a woman, you were able to write your own checks. You were able to vote. Like, think about that. Like, you've been alive long enough to have never been able to vote and then been able to vote, and you still telling people what to do? Like,
Not okay.
it's not okay. And depression is not okay.
No,
You
no,
know?
it's not. It doesn't feel good. And for all intents and purposes, it's like, yeah, no, you have ways to get help for that. And it shouldn't be a closed door conversation if you don't want it to be.
Yep.
I
I
was like, you want-
wholeheartedly agree with you. And I say all the time, I'm like, they don't have to come to you and talk to you about those things. They can talk to everybody else about that and never talk to you about that. And it feels so, it's like so earth shattering when you learn something about somebody that you love because you weren't open-minded enough to hear it. Now you're the person that everybody talks around. And
Mhm.
I'm like, do you really want to live in a household with somebody who doesn't want to talk to you because they already know how you're going to react? I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I did, like I always say, like, all of us, we have strong traits and we have weak traits. There's some things about all of us that we're like, I probably shouldn't have brought that to the table.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what it won't be is that the people in my life, whoever they are, I'm like, be you 100%, because I don't want to have to second guess if you were really being you when we first, like, I understand when you first meet somebody, you're like, I don't know about you. Let me hold it in. But I'm like, it's very rare that a gay man walks up to me and is like, I'm not going to be gay. They're usually like, ah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, you always throw out a vibe about yourself. At least I know I do for myself. And I'm like, hey, I don't need to criticize you. I was like, I'm already dealing with an internal critic from myself.
Hello.
She's been so busy and she's working overtime. She doesn't need to deal with you right now.
She does not sleep. She does not sleep. Somebody make this bitch go to sleep.
I was like, she's on overdrive for me. So we don't worry about you being criticized because you already probably deal with your own. And I'm pretty sure we're both brutal. So
we're so brutal. One of my friends, he's like, I'm 47, so he should probably be like 62, 63 now. And we used to have a conversation, and he was like, he always says, he said, it's very few things that I regret. But he said, I wish that I wasn't gay. And I used to say, well, why would you say that? And he said, because I wish that I didn't disappoint my mom.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And I said, do you wish to live as something different? He said, no, because this is who I am. I've never not been this person, but I wish I could have given her a straight son. And I look at who he is and how he has become this great, wonderful person. And I'm like, they just dimmed your light. Like, they just took 45% of your light, because the kind of personality that he has is one of those, like, what the minute he touched the room, that sucker brightens. Like, it just, you can't help it. You don't even want to be mad. I'm not interested. By the end, you with him, giving it all you got. I'm like, and he's Vietnamese, so like, it's just, it's a different vibe. It's a different. I always say, I'm like, oh, so you also a colored person. You're just different. It's just different language. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But but that's a hard thing to say. Like, I wanted her to have a straight son. I'm like, but your brother was straight and he had no children. He was like, I know, such a waste.
Wow.
But you like look at different relationships. I'm like, I can't remember any time in my life where I even had to think about if I liked a boy. Like, and that's what makes me upset sometimes, because I didn't have to think about that. I was just like, oh, I mean, the older I get, sometimes I'll be like, I really like boys. I like men.
How do you like? Oh.
And then I always tell people, no, I don't like men. I like my man. And I'm sure sometimes he feels like I don't like him, but that's just my crazy coming out, like that's.
It's all love. It's a different side of love.
It's not all love sometimes. I'm telling you, Alexa, it's not okay. Like sometimes I check myself. I will walk into a room and tell him, I'm like, hey, I'm in a bad mood. Or he'll like look over at me and be like, your face changed. I'm like, I need to lay down because it's something's changing right now. My hormones. I said, maybe I need a nap or like to eat. My sugar's low. I gotta go. Like before I'm rude to you for no reason.
But see, that's the thing about being in a solid relationship, that just the face change alone already started a conversation that says, hey, something's up. And you felt comfortable enough to say, I really don't know what's up. And we can have that moment. And that's, that's a treasure. Like to me,
It
that's
is. And I
treasure.
wasn't always like that. And I mean, we've been together so long, but I tell people all the time, I'm like, all the things you go through, dating somebody, I said, because we've been different version of ourselves. We've been good versions, we've been bad versions, we've been toxic versions. Because people always go, oh my God, they've been married for 60 years. Yo, listen to yourself. 60 years with the same person. You will offend each other. It's what's going to happen.
It's natural.
Because you don't like you every day. You darn sure gonna find something to pick on another person with. I said, but getting to a place, I always say now in a space where, because I got to a place where I didn't need to be right. Mm-hmm. And that's growth. Like when you can say, nah, nope, my bad. You right. People would piss people off. They're like, no, but I'm like, no, you were right. I messed it up. That was my fault. They're like, well, now you didn't just messed it up. How am I supposed to fuss about it? That seems like your problem, because
that is a them problem. Ain't a you problem no more. You're like, and that's, when you said that, it kind of sparked the memory for me where I said, losing that level of perfectionism where you have to be correct and perfect and all these things that we were taught. As soon as you said, I don't really need to be the best or the first or the perfect one, and I don't have to be the go-to person, it's almost like a weight gets lifted off your shoulders and you have the ability to kind of stand up a little bit straighter, your head's a little bit higher, and you're like, wow, I wish somebody would have said something sooner about that.
Right? I'm like, let me stay. I'm like 2 inches taller.
Yeah.
I feel lighter because I'm not trying to take on everybody's, especially like you said, if you're an empath and you take on people's emotions, every time you try to fix somebody, you take in their problem, their energy, their spirit. Then you got to work on yourself to get rid of their energy, their spirit, their problems. But then you bury your own spirit, your energy, and your problem. So now if you worked with 20 people that day, you got 20 people's spirit, problems, and energy living on you, and you got to go home to that. Calgon don't take that away.
No, Calgon doesn't have, Calgon does not have that much stock. So it's true. But it's really a path, a journey. We're all learning, we're growing. And, if we could always pass on a little bit of that proverbial wisdom, I think that there's hope for the future. Because I think, the way that you are and the way that I've been and the way that, the people that we communicate and interact with we're looking out for the better future, the greater humanity, the age of Aquarius, if you want to look at it like that. Because Aquarius sign is known for being the zodiac's humanitarian.
Yeah, and I'm always humanitarian, but I will say that what this Aquarius has learned is that it's okay to be like, I don't know that answer. Now, will I obsess about it later? Yes, absolutely. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. All right, because I'm gonna know it for the next time. I'm gonna know it. But I've gotten to a place where I'm like, I don't have to know it right now. And sometimes if I know it, I don't talk about it. Because I know that, like you and I were saying earlier, sometimes people just need to have a conversation. They need to just talk it out. They know the answer. They just need, and sometimes the answer is scary because it's not what like you said, it's not the life you've lived. It's not that perfect life that that's manicured and always, curated and put together and everything is so neat. that you like, it's like they cranked you up and you're as tightly wound as possible. And when you realize, oh, I don't have to fix that, it's the first I don't have to fix it. When you're like confused, because like you're almost gonna cry, but you're not. And
Yeah.
then it's the second I don't have to fix it when you're like, this feels nice. Okay, keep talking, keep talking. You get to that place where you're like, how many years have I tried to fix people's problems that I didn't need to? Don't answer that. I don't want to know.
Right.
You know?
But you always come back to and you're like, man, this is what it is to hold space. And that's really what it is. It's holding space.
And being enough.
Yeah.
In the space that you're holding. Because I think for me, I've always kind of leaned towards the quirky, flawed type person in general, because I felt like they were more authentically them. Like because they mirrored something that I didn't allow myself to live. So I would kind of like the artsy person or the gamer or the anime or like the gothic person, still living in my gothic years. I mean, living my fullest life all black, just showing up.
Yes.
I know, right? I'm like, and I'm always intrigued, like the new TikTokers, the gothic TikToker music. And it's so like, it's a little more diverse now. Cause you know, for us, it was like Evanescence and, you know, like it was just so one-sided. And then you started seeing like a little bit more. And now you're just like, you were like, you didn't know you were emo, but like you probably were emo if you went to high school in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. Like, you went to high school in the 90s, forget it.
I'm like, black's my favorite color. Is it? No, red is really my favorite color, but black that's my mood. Is it? No, yellow is really my mood, but like black is my color. It's like, make up your mind. It's
like black is an essence that lives around us. It's the emos.
You know? And I always say, I'm like, because I went to the school I went to, even the kids I grew up with, you could not be emo out loud. Like you just kind of, you had to suppress that. And I was saying to my husband, I was like, the amount of suppression that I did before 18, I said it was crazy. The amount of times that us as children had to figure out how to like pivot so fast to not be bullied or talked about, or have our parents question us like, you're depressed. I'm not. I just like black. Like I'm soulful, Mom. I'm listening to this music because it catches my soul.
I don't know why it makes me feel this way, because I haven't been around the earth this long, but I get it.
You know, I'm like, now my mother should have questioned things when I started listening to Marilyn Manson. She totally should have said something, because
he was interesting.
He was very interesting. But that's what the internet kicks in now. You learn so much. You'd be like, oh God, no, Mom. Why did you tell me that was bad? But back then you just had like a video on Saturday. So you were like, this is the best thing ever. And then later on, you're like, oh, he was a bad guy. He was not a good person.
Well, you know how it is. Like, we didn't have the internet like they do today. So
I couldn't cancel anybody.
Was it? I was like, Google came out when I was in college. So you can only rely on Yahoo, and now Yahoo's a joke. You know what I mean?
Which is horrible. I'm like, and I tell people all the time, like somebody will be like, what's your junk email? I say, I have an AIM junk email, but I cannot remember what my username was on Messenger. I have no clue what my username was. But I still have the mail. I still use them because that's where my junk email goes to.
It's like, sometimes a little treasure will pop up in there. I don't know.
I'm like, what happened? Like MySpace. I had MySpace.
Oh, that was
I had
fun.
Black Planet, but nobody should have ever had Black Planet because that was perverty.
So that's okay. Mi Gente was the Spanish version of Black Planet.
Oh no! I hope you didn't. The guys with like the cowboy hats, and you're like, whoa! Why are you sending me messages? The messages.
Oh, it was bad. It was like catfishing before it was a name.
Ooh, scary.
Like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm was like, I'm only 20. Like, you are 30 something. And now it's like, you're a groomer. Let's just call it what it is.
I know it's now you can change the name, but I'm like, there's some stuff. I'm like, I was excited about Black Planet because I love Black Planet because you could build your own website. Like you add your colors and your background and your music, kind of like MySpace.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so into techie stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be great. But the amount of D pics that started showing up.
And you're like, why? Why is this always going to be a thing?
I'm like, it's not cute. Okay. Not cute. You need to put some those little googly ears or something. Something gotta change.
Well, you send it back with the googly eyes.
I just felt like that's how you went to jail. Like that was it was the return receipt that sent you right to jail. And that's when your Catholicness, your little Christian mind be like, this is how Jesus finds me and takes me to hell. It's just like
it's so I'm like, yeah, that guilt that came with it all. You're like,
I'm like, and even being with the same person, I tell people all the time, I'm like, yes, you think being with the same person, you would have less guilt because at least it's the same person. I said, but if you grew up Christian, Catholic, Muslim, whatever, and they told you for all of your life, keep your knees together, you don't have sex, you don't, you go into hell. If you braid your hair, you go into hell. If you get a tattoo, you go into hell. If you got red fingernail polish, you're going to. Every day was a new day to hell.
Yeah, a new day and experience in hell, and it's
and like you said, if it's not fun, I'm not going anyway. So tap out. And I'm like, hey, I'm an Aquarius. Okay, I'm at the end. I'm an old sign. All right, I'm tapping the end of my life cycle in general. I'm an old geezer trying to make it out of here.
Yeah,
You ain't sending me nowhere. I'm not doing it. But I darn sure don't want your D pics. But I'm like, but truly, the guilt of all the things that you do.
Yeah, you carry it because you're like, damn, man. I knew in my heart, I was like, I didn't want to be a bad person. This made me a bad person. And it's like, then, as a grown woman in my 40s, I'm like, yeah, I'm not a bad person.
No, I'm 47. I wish you would now I'm in the wish a bitch would stage of my life in general. And I'm like, listen, my spirituality means so much to me, but I'm not super religious. I don't want to take people down. I want you to feel uplifted. Whoever you celebrate, whatever makes you feel connected to the earth and yourself and your family, embrace that, like live that life. But I don't have to preach that to you. That's not my road. My relationship with my spirituality is different than yours, and I'm okay with that.
And that's and to me that's key. To me it's like, look, your choice of faith, that's your relationship with your spirit and your soul. And if you feel like your soul is complete and you feel like you're getting closer to completeness with the different actions that you take towards making yourself feel balanced and whatever, doesn't matter if you're an atheist or religious or anti-religion. I mean, for me, I tell people all the time, I was like, I stopped being a devout Catholic because I couldn't stand behind the messages that were being sent out. It's like you read one thing, but you're telling me something that has nothing to do with the reading, and you're pushing through some agenda that I didn't come here on a Sunday for a message of upliftment while I leave feeling like trash. Like,
yes.
I was like, and I'm pretty confident that majority of the population here is going to maybe go home with the same feelings I have. I'm like, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
And I have relatives of mine who are, they're in the corner praying for me because they're like, yes, God willing. And in Jesus' name we say, and I'm saying, first of all, ma'am, if I could give you a little bit of wisdom for you, I was like, God gave you free will, didn't he? Yeah, that was the best present that you were supposed to get, right? What the hell are you using it for? You're telling him that your free will isn't even good enough. It's what he wants. Well, that means nothing's going to happen for you. That means that you are going to say that your wish from him, to your divine entity, whether it be he or she, whatever you decided, if you want to give it a label, you're telling that entity that you're not going to ask for anything because you don't have the capacity to think with your free will that they gave you. That's a misuse of the gift. That's messed up.
That's real messed up. And I tell people all the time, like, I don't need you to pray for me. I don't want everybody to pray for me because everybody's prayers aren't pure.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be praying over for something way better than me right now. like I'm gonna pray for me. And yes, if we choose to, maybe we can exchange positive energy, but like, because I'm not living the life that you chose for me to live, even though I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're not even living the best life you're supposed to live, I'm gonna need you to shut it down a little bit. Just take it down to 2 notches, move 7 seats, and fall off the end. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because that's the thing. For me, it's like I sit back and I'm like, yeah, it's nice that you have the desire now at the ripe age of 70 to be very devout Catholic, because are you scared you're gonna die soon? So you have to like make amends with all the things you didn't do up until this point. So now you're super ultra God favor. Like,
because he knows what you did already. Like, if you really believe, he already knows what you did because he already has the story of your life. He knows what you're thinking. He knows what kind of person that you are. Like, let's just go with all the regular things that people tell you all the time. It's like, and I thought that this was a come as you are type situation, but that's not it. Okay, not come as you are. Come as you are when y'all tell us, because you changed the rules before. I used to couldn't wear pants, but now I can wear pants as long as it's respectful pants. I don't know how you wear respectful pants, but okay. All right.
Yeah, you can't win. You can't win.
All right, no jeggings at church. I get you.
So funny. And that's the thing. It's like, for me, it's like, I don't want to be that person like follow the rules, but I'm like, I will learn your rules because I'm pretty sure that you're not following all your rules. So that when you tell me that I'm the problem, I can really whip it back right at you and tell you where you're the problem. Just because of that's one of my defense mechanisms. Because
me too. Don't worry about it. We're in the same boat. I learned theology just so I could go back with people. I'm like, oh, you what? I read the Bible from the beginning to the end, and I read it like a book. I didn't read it like a scripture. I read it like I started laughing at one point and called my mom and was like, Mom, did you know? And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, this was like the beginning. I said, I'm in Genesis, maybe like midway through Genesis. I'm like, the dad just threw the daughter out and left the son inside because he said you can have my daughter. Mom, what is happening in the Bible? And she's like, no, you can't read it like that. I said, but it's a book, right? Like, so I'm reading the books.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, and this is where, like, I always tell people that my Aquarius moon really, really comes out, because I like being technical and very much in knowledge. And if I don't know, I will learn and find out, because I just get fascinated. I was like, I need to understand where your level of crazy came from, because once I can empathize with it, I can totally understand you a little bit better and love you.
It's a bad trait. It's a toxic trait that we have with that. You're like, I want to get as crazy as you are as crazy so that we can understand each other. And then I can convert you back to non-crazy. What did you say? I don't know.
I was like, I sit back and I'm like, where did this come from? I remember one guy that was dating a friend of mine. That's okay. And it's not me trying to like criticize him he had other skills, which was very nice. But he goes and we have a Muslim friend with us, right? Who's fair skinned. He's like a white African guy.
Okay.
So so off the bat, he doesn't fit the typical ignorant image of what people would assume a Muslim person looks like. And this guy's like Catholic Italian, and he's like, I feel bad for one of my friends, and I'm like, why? He's like, because when he dies, he's not gonna go to heaven, and I'm like, oh, now you've just piqued my interest. Why isn't he going to heaven? Because
Now you're egging him on. Please fall into this pot.
I'm like, what? Because he's Muslim, he's not going to heaven. That's not how it works. He's like, but I believe in Jesus and they don't. I'm like, they do.
It's just a different name, fool. Listen, you don't study.
And I said, what? And in his eyes, like that prejudice he created was just like, oh yeah, they're really like set back in time with their mindset. And I'm like, you should really listen to yourself, because that's the pot calling the kettle black, my friend. And we're going even deeper. And mind you, he had no clue that he had a Muslim with him. Woo. And I said, you do realize that the Islamic culture has created a lot of the sciences that we currently practice today. I was like, did you realize that algebra is from the Islamic culture? Well, let's go there. Or how do you count your dollars, in Roman numerals or Arabic numbers? Because that's what we're
using. What you have said, make it stop, Lord, please.
Yeah, it totally blew his mind. My other friend's like, you could have just left it alone, right?
No. I always feel bad for people, because I'm like, it is very, in an unladylike conversation, it's very mind-fuckable to mess with people. And sometimes it's not even on purpose, but your brain be like, now that you have discriminated against the people, and now that you have offended somebody who is my friend, I shall destroy you.
Yeah.
I will leave you alive. I will leave you alive.
This is going to be a learning, teachable moment where I can use my ADHD education to help you be a better person, and maybe learn how to curb your language around everybody.
No, I feel like they won't.
No, they won't. And that's the thing.
But I'm like, it's been so many times I'm going to feel embarrassed. My personality is like, did I say that? I'm like, something was happening. I'm reading a book called Inclusive Language.
Okay.
And it's learning how to use inclusive language in the workforce. So learning how to mind what you're saying, honestly, because you just never know people's backgrounds, where they're from, things like that.
Right.
I always tell people I try to read one good book for all the smut romance that I read, because my God, if I was gonna have to stand in front of my spiritual belief, I would be like, listen, I know I read a lot of those books, but I didn't do what they said. I just read it. I was waiting for the aliens to come down. I wanted to read about them. Just what I was doing.
Like it's words on paper.
It's just that. That's what I'm doing. But like reading this book about inclusivity and learning how to not only use language for race, culture, but also in the disability community, learning how to just mind what you're saying. I mean, because the cool thing about conversation is you can almost not offend anybody. Like literally, if you're just a kind person, most of the time you're not going to offend anybody. I mean, at some point you're going to say something, because we've heard so many words, we don't even know. The language is changing so fast right now, that you just like, I tell people all the time, I'm a Black woman, the end. Like, that's it. I'm not African American. I can't even say I'm brown anymore, because brown is not attached to Black people. I'm like, listen, my name is Lee. My name is Lee, and I wear wigs sometimes, and I love reading dirty books, and I'm going to learn a lot of stuff about nothing.
And I'm Alexa, and I could follow the same pattern on the wig, because I don't invest in that part of my life, because you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, we are who we are.
Yes.
And for the most part, my culture is what got me here, but it's not the definition of me entirely, because I've made friends with people from different cultures, different upbringings, different life stages. And at the end of the day, everybody that has touched my life has made me more than just
Yes. And that's how I feel about having conversations. One, I was like, when you said I'll do one, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm at work, but let me send this message back. Send me an email, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I love talking to people who are open, who are and who are unafraid, because I'm like, at the end of the day, we all have our numbers counted. We're not going to all be here forever. And those
Right.
relationships that we make along the way, those people who help us be better, like that's what you want. I think that's why I love talking to people from everywhere. One, because I like talking about food and
Yes.
boom. But two, I love talking to us because you and I didn't grow up in the same city, state, with the same background, and look how connected we are in so many ways.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing that I always reflect on, and I always love. It's like, yeah, I'm comfortable with being Hispanic, but guess what? Like, I always tell people, I was like, deep down, if you're not white, you're definitely probably black. And I was walking my dog, and my one neighbor, he's like, yo, girl, where you from? I'm like, from around here. He's like, oh, that means you black. And I'm like, yeah, I am. It's like, oh, like, but the thing is, it's like, you know what? We grew up as a minority. We grew up with a certain influence from our families. We also grew up with a lot of challenges that we had to overcome. We decided to take our future into our own hands. You decided to go into your profession. I went into mine.
Mhm.
And we went with the idea that we're going to either rise above the statistic that we were presented growing up, or B, just become something completely different, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when we grow up and grow older, as we grow into our adult selves, we're like, yeah, we need to reintegrate that upbringing, because for all the things in the world that I've seen go wrong by the other, by trying to just ignore who the person I was growing up.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like, it's like, I don't want to minimize the discipline that I learned from my family, because it turned me into a hard worker, and it turned me to value my integrity and be a better person, be honorable and be honest. And that's not something that people teach you in school.
No.
And
That's your community. That's your family, your community, and sometimes it's your friends, your friendships, because sometimes you don't have family per se, but you make friends with people who have loyalty, and they're honest, and they are people who have peace and joy that they bring into your life, and they expect you to bring the same energy. And sometimes you got to step up, because even if we know that by the time you're 7, pretty much most of your fears, your characteristics, those things are kind of like stamped in there. And then from 7 to 12, you're like trying to figure out how to manipulate those things so it makes you the person, so you can be cool when you're like a teen, And then when you turn a teenager, you literally turn 1 again, because you're like, everything, my life, it's all, everything sucks. I hate everybody, And then you turn 18, and it's like, I'm 7 again. I got to figure out how to get myself back together and work this out. And I'm like, at 47, I'm like, I still want to know why I can't do what I want to do. You told me adult life was going to be great, and I'm paying bills on bills on bills.
Oh, that's the one that gets me right in the heart. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, I can't eat what I want because I'm getting older, and now when I go to sleep, it comes back to haunt me. I can't jump out the bed the way I want to because
it hurts.
I don't even know why it hurts anymore, because at this point, I woke up, but I'm like, but flip side, I get to enjoy people like you. I get to have conversations with different people. I enjoy being me. I love it. I didn't always love it. I used to feel like such an imposter in my own life. I was like, is that really what you want to do? And I'm like, yes. I get dressed up because it's a Tuesday, and that's just me, but I don't expect anybody else to do that. And I'm not looking for people in my life to do what I do. I want you to do what you do good, and me to do what I do good. And then when we're together, I want us to wreak havoc on everybody.
I am in for that.
You
I'm
know?
in for that. That's what a friendship is about, like I look at it like you're building friendships, and that's, the beauty of this world. Like we need to see more people be their authentic full selves with no apologies, unapologetic.
None.
And to me, I admire people who are like, you know what, this is just the person that I am. And I want you to walk into that personality with biggest smile or frown if that's the direction that it would.
RBF is a thing, okay? People don't discriminate. We don't mean it. It just gets stuck there.
No, absolutely not. And we'll get to that point where more authenticity is going to be out there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be respectful, and it's all love, because that's where I'm coming from.
I know, and I can tell that, because I think that I'm always tell my husband, like, he'll get out the car, we'll be moving, or I'll tell a friend, and I'll just touch him and be like, today's going to be a good day, okay? And they're like, okay. And then later on they'll call and be like, I had a really good day. And I was like, I felt it in my heart. It was going to be a good day. I will say, being an Aquarius, if you're quiet, if you can be in a quiet Aquarius, you read so much. You're like, your tentacles are out, and you're like feeling for different things, and you're trying to, it always laugh. I say, it's like you're trying to like pitch up the dirt. You're like, the wind is blowing this way, it's gonna be a good day. Or like, no, it's gonna be a shit show. It's a shit show. Back out.
I'd be like, yo, you know what? Hide. Don't interact. Cancel all your meetings.
I'm like, no. And I always laugh, because my brother is a Cancer, and he is a lover of lovers. But if he feel like he misunderstood,
it's a wrap.
But you're not even sure what made him not understood. You just like, I thought it was okay. It's not okay. Okay.
That's all right. It's all right. He'll find his words. His words.
Well, I always laugh. He was inspired. I mean, he was a up and coming rapper, so he had words. But I think that's what happened. He tried to live that Jay-Z life. You can't live that Jay-Z life. Beyonce ain't coming to you that way. She is not always coming to you that way.
You're like, oh, you sit back and like, yeah, about that choice. I'm gonna be there for you on your shows. I'm gonna be your supporter, even if it's not gonna be at the big scene. But it's okay.
It's okay. You got this. You can. I always tell him, I'm like, you're great with your words, just like your father, and y'all work that out. Like, y'all work that out.
Exactly.
I'm just here. I'm here for the show, people, and the food. Good food, good show, good people.
Popcorn and all that included.
Now you're gonna make me make popcorn. It's late. I can't make popcorn. There's no popcorn tonight.
That's
after 10, like by 10:15, I can't have any more food, because
if not, we're not gonna feel good.
I'm gonna wake up to I'm dehydrated.
I know that feeling too well.
I'm like, Lord. Oh gosh. Okay. But we're gonna wrap this up.
All right, my dear.
And try to do this again. I'm always I enjoyed our conversation. I'm like, why are we know so much about each other but never met? Like, it's creepy.
Okay. So I call it soul family.
Soul family. Oh, so I'm stealing it. Expired and soul family.
I think those are two good ones.
I think that's a great one. My emotions have expired, and soul family for connection. Okay, we got this. So you have a great night.
Thank you.
I wish you nothing but joy. We have to stay in touch. I'm gonna have to figure out how to come to Jersey. You're gonna have to take me somewhere and get some good food.
Well, when you decide to come up to New Jersey, you let me know, and we will make it work real well. I live in a nice town that has good restaurants, and within driving distance to some amazing places too. So,
because Jersey's only like 2 hours from me. Well, the tip of Jersey. Then you get into Jersey, and you be like, I'm in here like swimwear. I'm trying to make it out. But we ride up there quite often, because we usually go like up to Maine or to like New Haven, like just because we ride motorcycles. So nice. I will definitely hit you up for some food, a place to come and hang out.
Yes, you're always welcome in my home. So just let me know when.
I will. You have a great night, and you tell Hercules I love him.
I know you. What's your baby's name again? Because I didn't.
Ray.
Ray. Yes, that's right. Raymond.
Yes, Ray Lewis is what they named the dog after. Ray Lewis.
Oh, Ray Lewis. You give him cuddles and kisses from me too.
I will. He probably at the door right now, like.
Why are you leaving me out of this?
It can't be a part of it. But you have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, dear.
See ya.
Ciao.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye, loves.